Energy-producing African countries are making concerted efforts to attract investments into their oil and gas sectors at the ongoing Africa Oil Summit holding in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, with the shift to renewables looking to reshape the global energy landscape, many countries are navigating a highly competitive arena where collaboration is essential to secure critical funding. Joining me now live from Cape Town, South Africa to discuss this further is Arise News international correspondent Adesua Giwa-Osage. Adesua, good morning. It's great to see you again. Thanks for joining the show. Yes, afternoon. You're very right. Good afternoon on your side. All right, well, let's begin with some of the important announcements that have been made at Africa Oil Week so far. Which ones have stood out the most for you?
Well, I would say one of the most important announcements is the announcement by Dr. Ibrahim, the Secretary General of the APPO, about the Africa Energy Bank, and that's that they have been able to get 45% of their minimum startup capital of $5 billion. Now, he said that there were lots of naysayers. People said fossil fuels are in the past. People said that Africans will not be able to fund their own development or their own energy, but he said they put the naysayers to shame. Now, this process began years ago, 2 years ago. An MOU was signed between the APPO and Afrexim Bank, and now we're seeing that there's actual movement. He also said that some of the member states of APPO, the 18 member states, have ratified the African Energy Bank laws because, again, it is a financial contribution. Now, it's expected that every one of the 18 member states will give $83 million to help fund the start-off of the bank. That would get us to about $1.5 billion, which will then be matched by APPO and Afrexim Bank, which will take us to $3 billion. And the last $2 billion is expected from Middle Eastern sovereign funds. Now, it has not been made clear of this 45% how many of the member states, the 18 member states, including Nigeria, Ghana, Libya, Egypt, it's not been made clear how many of the states have actually put forward that $83 million, but they have said that 45% has been raised. Now, moving on from the Africa Energy Bank, we had 3 African regions announce their rounds here. We have Liberia that announced 29 oil blocks that they're putting up, and with 100% cost recovery for seismic data. They're also emphasizing their stable government. They're emphasizing strategic infrastructure. Similarly, we have Tanzania announce a round here with 24 oil blocks. Most of those are offshore. Deep ocean offshore drilling is very important for the next stage of Africa energy development. And in Tanzania, they also emphasize the strategic infrastructure, particularly their pipelines. Now, we know that the East African crude oil pipeline that's supposed to go between Tanzania and Uganda has been having some funding issues, which is one of the things that the African Energy Bank is supposed to solve. So I'll say that the most important announcements that we're seeing come out of the Africa Oil Week, one is the Africa Energy Bank, which was started on the top of day one. That was announced that they've been able to get 45% of their minimum working capital, but also these new entrants coming into the market. For example, Zanzibar announcing their own oil blocks up for sale.
All right, it's certainly great to hear that the industry is defying odds, like you mentioned earlier. And of course, around the Africa Energy Bank, because there's been calls for that, quite a number of the oil weeks as well. Adesua, I want to thank you so much for joining the show. We'll see you again very soon.